Welcome to the first episode of our podcast, where our goal is to serve as a connection to the student body during these times. The lack of certainty for what may happen next is really high, so we want to reach out and spread information for how we as students can become more organized and just in general what we can do. My name is Aditya Hariharan, and I am a sophomore at Homestead High School.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aditya Manikonda, and I'm currently a junior at Limerick High School.
Hey, everybody. My name is Shreyas Jenna, and I'm a sophomore at Monte Vista High School.
On today's episode, we are featuring Bill Lennan and Barbara Tsai. Bill and Barbara are the co-founders of Up-Level Works, and together they developed a comprehensive curriculum to support mental wellness.
Hey, everybody.
Hi. All right. So just to segue into my first question, I was just reading around on Insider magazine, and I saw a story about this guy named Tom Smith, who was a consultant, and his story was that his family had always had issues with obesity. His aunt was weighed over 700 pounds. His son weighed 350 pounds, and the combination of chronic sinus infections and chronic obesity at age 42, he decided he wanted to make a change in his life. So what ended up happening was he went to the gym 365 days straight and got in the habit of going to the gym, as well as changing his entire diet. And because changing his diet, not allowing himself to eat wheat, milk, and refined sugar. And this is so intriguing how someone can suddenly just make such huge life changes, especially for things that seem so difficult to do. So my first question is, how would you define a habit, and what are the elements of a powerful habit like this?
I think a good way to define a habit is that it's basically a routine that one does in a particular situation. So that could be either a physical routine that you do, like getting up, making a cup of coffee, and drinking that first thing in the morning, or it could be a thinking routine that you do. When somebody says something to you or speaks in a certain tone of voice, you immediately go to a certain way of thinking, like critical about yourself or critical about the other person, right? So there's a lot of different behaviors that we engage in that are habits. Some are cultural, like different cultures greet each other in a different way. Some are familial, different families behave in certain ways at different holidays, or just every evening they might eat dinner together while other families may not eat dinner together. So there are a lot of different habits that we have, but basically it's a behavior or a thought pattern that repeats itself whenever we're in a particular situation, and it's pretty much automatic. We don't have to think about it too much.
Right. So as professionals in your industry, what are a couple of habits that you guys implement in your lives to benefit your daily lives, I guess?
Well, I have actually some long-standing habits. Like when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is drink like half a glass of water. And it's a process that just kind of gets me going in the morning. It's before I feel really awake and I feel like getting out of bed. I drink the water and it just kind of wakes me up. I also like to stretch before I sort of get up. So just kind of laying in bed and rotating my torso and twisting and stretching helps activate me.
All right, I see. So what do you think makes these habits so important? Like, why not can't we just go on a whim of whatever we want to do and just really what is the problem with having an unstructured life? Like, what makes these habits that we do every day so important?
The important thing, okay, so remember we talked about automaticity as being a key to a habit, right? A habit is the behavior, it's a routine, it's triggered by some kind of cue, and then after we do it, we get some kind of reward. The reason why it's important is because of that automatic process. We have to use our brains to think about all kinds of things. But if we don't have to think about making our first cup of coffee in the morning, or we don't have to think about, oh, I'm groggy, how do I get out of bed? Or we don't have to think about, where the heck did I put my car keys? I can't remember. Oh no, they're always on the table by the door, or in my bedroom on the dresser or something like that. Those automatic habits allow us to spend our brain time thinking about other things that are more important or that are changing, or that just have more need for us to spend time on those things.
And now that we talked about like what exactly are habits and why they're important, how exactly can you build habits?
So a habit is a structured loop. We have the routine, which is what we think of as the habit. But before that, we have something that cues us to do the routine. So there's always something that triggers us to do the habit activity. Okay? So
Right, so pretty much you have to have rewards when you're building habits, right?
Yeah, you have the cue, the routine, and the reward that meets the craving that you're feeling for that habit. And having the craving, having a good reward that's built, that develops a good craving, cravings can be healthy, helps you engage in that habit even when you lose your sense of motivation.
I think there's like this gray area where a motivation and a discipline can get like kind of blurred, right? So like I guess how far will a motivation take you versus a discipline?
It depends.
So there's an expression that goes, motivation gets you going, habit keeps you going, right?
Right.
The most disciplined people in the world had the motivation to intentionally set up habits, to do a routine over and over again, so that when they didn't have the motivation, their habit drove them. Okay, so the discipline is about setting up the habits in a thoughtful way. That's discipline.
Do you recommend building multiple habits at a time, or just one habit at a time?
I think that's dependent on the kinds of habits, what area they're in, how difficult they are for you. For example, smoking we know is a difficult habit to break, right? If you were trying to break the habit of smoking and you forced yourself to try and also learn to exercise every day at the same time, that would be really hard, right? But if you were trying to break the habit of smoking and you decided you were going to I'm going to drink a glass of water every morning when I wake up to help me get started, that would not be so hard.
So, we've been talking a lot about, how habits are important and how to build habits, but can you describe in what ways creating a routine can really significantly impact your mental health?
So our mental health comes a lot from consistency and stability. You can wander off into the unknown and uncharted territory and explore and make decisions and do things that are uncertain and feel comfortable about it, as long as you have a base of support. But if everything in your life is upheaval, it's really hard to go out and take a risk. Yeah? So from a mental health perspective, having a strong base of support, including the routines in your day that provide you stability, help you be creative and take risks and explore.
Right. I like to add on to that, because my family, in particular, has been surrounded by like mental health issues, mental health illness. And I think like a routine is an extremely underrated way of helping solve these problems, simply being because a lot of people in mental illness is like, they don't just suddenly get like a mental illness. It happens after their lives have become so complex and there's been so much instability in their lives that they don't know what to do. And what ends up happening is that these outside events end up tapping into like their biological weaknesses, which then creates that mental illness. So then by creating like a routine, I believe that it like reduces the complexity of our lives, and we're able to like more like settle down and be able to because when you're faced with so much complexity, it's like very overwhelming. And then it makes us take drastic action. By having a solid routine, we reduce that. And I guess like simplicity is the key. And when we keep it simple, that's when we have like the best mental health, I believe.
You're absolutely right that simplicity and routine help reduce our stress levels so that we don't feel overwhelmed, which is not the same as saying you don't want stress. That is not at all what I'm saying. You want stress because it helps you grow, but certain stress you want to be able to manage and make routines out of it in order to cope with the other stress.
One thing I wanted to say was, do you find the process of building routines more important than the reward, or is it like different in different cases? What's the difference between, what you learn through the process versus the end goal, the end reward?
So the process, you're learning that you can affect your life, and that gives you a sense of self-efficacy and self-esteem and accomplishment, right? Those are all important things as you become adults, to know that you can go out there and actually do something, set your mind to do something and get it done. That's really important, because if you felt like you couldn't make a change on your world, you'd be pretty distressed, right? Well, what are you going to do with your life if you can't make any change? So that's really important. Okay.
For teenagers, it becomes a lot tougher to really, satisfy them in terms of rewards. So do you have any recommendations for how teenagers should reward themselves after, in the process of creating their habits?
Yeah, sticker charts in the form of bullet journals still really work for teenagers, especially if, they like organization, they like color, they like, grids and things like that. And they're very visual, and they like to see what their plan is and what they've done of the plan. It's like that percentage bar, right? Oh, it's 25%. Now it's 80%. It's 100%. Yay. At the end of the day, it feels really rewarding. Outside of the sticker chart, I think the motivational factors are, like Bill talks about, the fun. Fun is really important, and fun can come from, I mentioned that the whole sensory experience of the habit. The intellectual reward, and that's long-term out into the future. The immediate reward is, what does it feel right now to do this thing? Find some other physical sensation that is rewarding to you, and helps you feel accomplished, calm, energized, motivated, all of the above. Be mindful of all those different sensory experiences and use that as part of the reward. Okay? So monitoring progress in some way that appeals to you, whether it's you've got your calendar and you're checking the days that you've done the thing, or you've got a bullet journal. It doesn't have to be a sticker chart, but some other visual way to monitor your progress. And then sensory rewards are going to be what helps you with that long-term motivation.
Right.
I would add two things to that. One of them is, what's the punishment? What's the downside of not doing the habit, right? And that's always a thing to have there, kind of set up as a construct. Tim Ferriss has talked about one of the ways that he has hacked a whole bunch of different things that he wanted to create as habits was he told somebody, hey, if I want to make this a habit and I'm going to track it, and here's how you can monitor it. And if I don't do it, I'm going to give $100 to a charity that I really don't like, right? Oh, yeah. And so he had an emotional reason to make, because he didn't want to give, what he found was he didn't mind giving $100 to one of his friends, but when it was a charity he didn't like, he really didn't want to do that. And so that stick made him actually go through with doing this thing to build the habit. And then once he'd made it, all of a sudden it was easy, because he was like, oh yeah, I do this every day now, right? And I've also used competition as a way to do a habit.
Accountability partners and competition, yeah.
All right, so to wrap it up, are there any final specific pieces of advice that you would give to teenagers about building habits?
I think that starting small, that's the thing that sucks you in.
Yeah, and the other thing is the Mary Poppins spoonful of sugar. How do you make it fun?
Yeah.
Right? it's a cultural reference that not everybody will get, but it's the whole idea of, you know, the spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. If you can make the thing a game or fun, then it's a snap to do it.
Right.
Thank you for coming on and talking to us. We really appreciate it, and thank you for everybody who tuned in to this to our first episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Yep.